The Israeli government is about to announce its plan to annex large parts of the West Bank. Here are 3 things you should know about this. Number 1. Annexation is land theft, pure and simple. The West Bank is Palestinian land that Israel has no claim to whatsoever, and Israel's takeover of the West Bank is categorically illegal under international law. Israel annexing parts of the West Bank is every bit as ridiculous as Israel taking parts of Italy or the United States and declaring them a part of Israel. The UN has issued a mountain of resolutions calling on Israel to withdraw from the territories it occupies, which include the West Bank, Gaza, and East Jerusalem, citing the basic principle of international law that land cannot be acquired by force. The world was unanimous in condemning Israel's takeover of Palestinian lands, until this guy came along and decided that land theft was okay with him. But every administration before him opposed Israel's theft of Palestinian land. Number 2. Annexation is part of an ethnic cleansing project. Wherever you may be in the world, don't just think of the Israeli government suddenly declaring that parts of your country are now Israel, but imagine the Israeli government sending its military into your neighborhood and evicting you and your family out of your home, either to demolish it or send Israeli settlers to take it over after throwing you out. How would you feel? This is precisely what Palestinians are experiencing under Israeli settler colonial expansion. Despite objections from the UN and condemnations from human rights organizations and even harsh criticisms from US administrations, Israel continued to build more and more illegal settlements and continued to demolish the homes of Palestinians and drive them off of their land, all with the goal of ethnically cleansing indigenous Palestinians in order to achieve demographic dominance over the land. In some cases, Palestinians in East Jerusalem were literally thrown out of their homes by Israeli authorities so that Israeli Jewish settlers can come and take them over.
It's becoming a familiar scene in East Jerusalem. Jewish settlers taking over a Palestinian home and dumping the furniture in the garden.
This is the settlers' strategy. House by house, family by family, they're trying to take over the neighborhood of Sheikh Jarrah. They're doing so with the full cooperation of the Israeli police and the Israeli courts. And it's a pattern that's repeating all over East Jerusalem.
And by the way, this ethnic cleansing did not start with the occupation. It started with Israel's creation in 1948, when more than 750,000 Palestinians were driven from their homes and hundreds of Palestinian towns and villages were destroyed. In fact, this ethnic cleansing continues even within Israel to this day. Number 3. Annexation settles the debate on the A word. For many years, the international community pushed Palestinians to swallow a bitter pill, to recognize Israel and settle for a state of their own on just 22% of historic Palestine. This is called the two-state solution. And in the 1980s, Palestinians swallowed that pill and made a massive compromise for peace, recognizing Israel with the understanding that Israel was going to withdraw from the occupied territories to allow a small Palestinian state to exist. But Israel never lived up to its end of the bargain. It continued to swallow up whatever little was left of Palestine and drive Palestinians off of their land. And now with this annexation, Palestinians are completely encircled and controlled by Israel. So if Israel controls the lives of millions of Palestinians and denies them the right to vote for the government that controls their lives, how exactly is it a democracy? Let's ask former US Secretary of State John Kerry.
If the choice is one state, Israel can either be Jewish or democratic. It cannot be both. You would have millions of Palestinians permanently living in segregated enclaves in the middle of the West Bank, with no real political rights, separate legal education and transportation systems, vast income disparities, under a permanent military occupation that deprives them of the most basic freedoms. Separate and unequal is what you would have.
What's that word for applying separate and unequal sets of rights and privileges to two different ethnic groups under one government? Oh, that's right. That's apartheid. And it's a system of oppression that American taxpayers are funding with billions of dollars each year. During a time of pandemic and an unprecedented economic crisis with millions of Americans out of work, is supporting an oppressive foreign system of apartheid really the best use of our tax dollars?